first grade. My name is Mrs. Overish, and anytime you see me pop up on your screen, that means we are going to be working on some science together. Happy summer school, and I'm glad you are here. Today, I really need your help. I was given this centerpiece, so something that sits on the middle of my table on the beginning of May. So my mom brought it over. It was really nice, but she's coming over later today and I'm really embarrassed to show her what has happened. And I really need your help because I don't know exactly what's going on. So I'm gonna grab it and show you guys. Oh no, you guys. So I have this, and as you can see, all of the flower petals are just like falling off. And I don't know what's going on because I had it sitting somewhere where it was getting sun. There's water in it, and I've changed the water out. But look, they're no longer standing up. The petals are falling off. My leaves are turning brown and wrinkly. I have no idea what's going on. I think I did everything right. Look at this one. Look how dead that is. So why would my flowers die sitting in this vase on the middle of my table when I know that plants need water, I know they need sun, so I don't understand. My petals are all over my floor. I don't understand what has happened. So first grade, I'm going to show you a different plant, and it's outside, and I want you to tell me why you think that plant's living and this one's not, because this is dead. There's no coming back. I mean, look at these. They're barely hanging on. And they were so pretty when my mom gave them to me. So I don't know what to tell her. Let me show you the other one, and then I want you to tell me what you think. Okay, first grade. Now I'm outside, and I have this plant, and I've watered it. It's outside because it's really big, so it's getting sunlight. So just like the plant that was inside. But how come this one isn't dying and the other one is? Why do we think this one is living and the other one's not? What do you think? What do we notice about the bottom of this plant compared to the bottom of the other one? Well, you guys couldn't really see the bottom of the other one because it was in a vase. And when we get flowers given to us, or if we give flowers to someone, what happens is those flowers get pulled from their roots. So they're no longer connected to their nutrients and to the soil that they need to continue living. So this plant I can keep alive because, as we can see, it has dirt in the pot. It has its roots growing. So it's still living because it's still connected to the ground, even though it's in a pot. So if I walk over here, we have all these different types of plants, right? So they're all different types of bushes and grasses and trees. All of these things are beautiful and big and green and flourishing because they're still receiving one of the most important parts of having a plant survive, and that's its nutrients. So today, first grade, we're going to talk about all the different things that a plant needs to survive. So my poor flowers inside, the reason they couldn't make it is because they weren't receiving one of the most important pieces. So let's sit down and talk about all the things that plants need to survive. All right, first grade. So first, before we start, I wanted to show you one of my poor flowers here. So this poor flower, look how pretty he is, right? He had the beautiful petals. He has his inside, he has his stem, but he's missing kind of one of those really important pieces of a plant. So we know that there are different parts of our plants that help it grow, help it survive, and help it get the nutrients it needs. This plant is missing one of the most important things, and that's its roots. And when we cut plants and we put them in vases, they no longer have their roots to grow, which means that they're basically just kind of going to hang on as long as they can. So let's talk about different ways that our plants can survive so that we don't have poor plants falling over and having its petals go everywhere, okay? All right. So I can identify different ways plants survive. So we have here the 5 most important things that help a plant survive. Now, the first one is sunlight. Now, all plants don't need a ton of sunlight, but they all need the sun to help them grow and blossom. So there are some plants that need the sun more than others, but there are some, like grass. If we notice when we walk by people's yards, and sometimes they might have a huge big tree in their front yard, but their grass isn't growing as well. Well, that big tree is blocking the sun. So that's why in meadows that we see, and we see that big grass growing that's very long. Whereas in a forest, sometimes we don't see as much grass growing. We see different types of bushes growing, and we might see different types of maybe weeds on the ground, but we don't see that typical grass that we see like in people's front yards or in meadows. So first thing that we have for different ways plants survive is sunlight. The next one we have is proper temperature. Now, if I were to take my flowers, my daisies, let's say, and go plant them in the middle of winter when it's getting ready to snow, do you think my plants would survive? No, they wouldn't. If the weather is too cold, they aren't going to live. Now, there are some plants that can make it in cold weather, but a lot of plants need that warm sun to help them grow, because often in the wintertime, we don't get a lot of sunlight either. All right, and our next one is water. All plants need water, some type of water or moisture to be able to survive. So some plants are going to need daily watering. So that means that either we as humans have to go out and water them to help them thrive, or they can rely on the rain that falls, especially in the spring and in the summer. But then some plants also can just rely on the morning dew. So when you go out in the morning, especially in the spring, and you step onto the grass and it feels kind of wet and you're like, did it rain last night? Well, no, that's our morning dew, and our morning dew kind of gives this wet layer on the grass and on our plants. And some plants, that's all they need, is just a little bit of moisture each day. All right, our next one is air. Just like you and I, we need our air to be able to breathe and live. Our plants and our animals also need that really clean air for them to really grow big and beautiful. So I have this fun picture here. I just think I'm going to make it a little bit bigger for you. Of this really big, beautiful lake and mountain and sky. And yes, it's kind of a snowy picture, but I just thought it was so beautiful, and how crisp and clean the air is somewhere where there's not a lot of buildings and not a lot of cars. So plants need that really clean air for them to live and for them to grow. And then this last one, this is the one that my poor flowers were missing, which is why they couldn't live. And it's probably the most important thing that our plants need, and that's food or nutrients. Now, we aren't going to make them a bologna sandwich and go out and give our plants a sandwich. We're not going to go out and give them little, dog food, right? They get their food and their nutrients from the soil. So they get it from the ground. So just like my big plant out in my pot, it was able to get its nutrients from the pot and from the soil that I had put in it. So it was able to have its roots grow inside the pot. Now those plants that were along and in the grass and all that, they get their nutrients from the ground below. So if we dig up our plants or we pick our flowers, they're not going to make it because they're no longer able to get the nutrients they need to survive. Now, I have a lot of plants that need my help and my care. Obviously, I did not do a very good job with my flowers, right? They did not do what I needed them to do. And that's because they were missing their food or their nutrients. So what I want you to do today is you're going to find a plant near you. Maybe that's inside your home. Maybe your mom has a pot with plant in it somewhere in her house. Maybe it's outside. Maybe it's just a bush that you have outside your house, or a tree that's close by or in a park. And I want you to tell me 3 ways that you could help that plant survive. And I want you to think about something else too that's not on our list, because obviously our plants can live on their own outside without our help very often. But I think about like my dog, Rosie. Rosie, can you introduce yourself to our friends? She's walking away. My dog, Rosie, loves to eat grass. And I get so upset with her because when she eats the grass, she's killing it. So one way, if you want to get kind of creative here, you could think about how you could keep it safe from an animal or a bug, because sometimes there are lots of bugs that like to dig into our yummy plants too. So tell me 3 ways that you could help that plant survive. I can't wait to see what you guys have to say about how you're going to help a plant stay alive. Have a good day, first grade.